Welcome back to the Lemon Factor. I'm Chad, and today I'm here with one of our 3 project cars, this 2003 Lexus IS300 SportCross. This is a relatively new car for me, a car that I've always wanted since it came out way back in 2000, 2001. I've had this car now for maybe about a month, and I'm enjoying it. Although I could enjoy it a lot more if I had a stereo that really worked and worked well. And that's what we're going to fix today. So I've purchased a doubled-in head unit, the JVC KW-M788BH from Crutchfield. And I'm going to attempt to install this. I say that because I've never installed a stereo on a car before. So it'll be interesting to see how easy or hard or how I mess this up. First thing we need to do is remove the old unit, and to do that we have to remove the center stack to be able to pull it out and get access to the cords behind it. So I am using a trim removal tool. These are really cheap. I'd highly advise using something like this as opposed to a flathead screwdriver where you're going to scratch the plastics. And up here, whether you have the cubby for your sunglasses or just the shelf, there's a panel up here that you just pry and pop open. That reveals 2 screws, Phillips head screws. Just give it a little bit of a tug and this portion should come right out. Should come right out. And it does. Now that we removed the top, there should be 2, but I only got one. 10mm bolt up at the top. So there's 2 more 10mm bolts down here, so we have to remove this to get access to it, and then this whole piece should come out. There we go. So I'm going to have connectors for the heated seats back here and the traction control. I don't know. All right, so I should be able to pull this out. When you're pulling, lift up. There is a tab that goes in a hole here, so lift up and then out. I've removed these 2 underneath. Just got to push in on the tab and slide it out. We do have other connections back here. Whoa, this is scary. I don't know if you could see that. This is probably why I have never installed a stereo before. This big wire loom connected up here. And I had this black, I don't have a lot of slack, connected down here to FM, so it looks like our antenna is the black, and then this yellow was connected to RCIN, and here is our old unit. It is connected by this plate with some screws not really screwed in. Jeez. After taking the OEM head unit out, the climate controls up top here, and the older head unit is attached by brackets, very similar to what you see here. What I needed to do was undo the screws and slide out the climate controls. I did buy a new bracket set, so I then inserted the climate controls onto the new brackets, which is what you see here. I then took our new stereo and inserted it at the bottom. The bracket that you get is specific to your car so that everything fits. And it can be used with a single DIN or a double DIN like we have here. You do need to modify the bracket a little bit, just cutting off some parts, but that is super easy. The only problem that I had, and again, I've never done this before, so if it sounds foolish, yeah, I feel a little foolish, but this stereo, when I took it out of the box, had a metal cage around it. And I was trying to put it into this slot with the metal cage on, and it just wouldn't fit. It didn't take too long before I figured out that I needed to take that cage off. So I took the cage off, then you fit it in, you slide it up, and you get it where you want it to be, and then you just tighten down the screws. I only have one screw on this side, but I have 2 screws on the other side. And then you just snap this faceplate in place. So here's our stereo. I think we're all set. I mean, the hardest part for me is I don't know what any of this mess looks like. I mean, that is just scary. I'm gonna guess it's just all the connections, like the speakers, the amp, etc. But it's a little overwhelming for me, and quite frankly, I haven't felt this way installing or modifying something in quite some time. We have this other mess in here, and my thought is, because there is let me just put this off to the side. My thought is to disconnect this because, one, I don't know what all of this is. I think it's just the wiring harness to be able to hook up to that older double DIN, but I do have a new harness here that I got from Crutchfield right here. So I'm betting that this takes the place of this, and if I disconnect it in the back here, I'll just connect this one in its place. Okay, so we have that plugged in. Reverse camera up here. All right, plug that in. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. Microphone for the Bluetooth and GPS. Let me do the microphone next. I think what I'll do is try and put that up here. And this is my microphone, right? Microphone, okay. All right, so I've got the microphone. Put that up here. And this connects where it says GPS. Okay. All right, there's my antenna. Cable, now I have reverse and parking, and I have wires to match the color that came with the kit. However, I don't know where these would connect to. All right, I'm gonna start the engine. If something happens, great. Let's see. That's what happens when you get used to a push start. Okay. Can we go to the radio? I'm gonna just put it in reverse to see if the rear camera actually kicks in. What do you think? Is the camera gonna kick in? So we know the stereo works, turns on, plays music. However, the reverse camera isn't turning on. And this has been perplexing for me, considering that we already had an upgraded head unit that was working with the rear view camera. And even though Crutchfield gave me wire, where's the other one, to run these, there's nothing here behind the stereo unit to plug into. Again, surprising because I would think there would be, considering we already had it working before. So I'm going to try this. When I said we had the reverse camera, there was a red wire sticking out here, and it was plugged into the old harness. So my thought is maybe that was plugged into what would be the reverse camera. So what I've done here is I've connected that red to the purple of the reverse. And I know it looks messy here, but I actually did it. It's not just wrapped in electrical tape, it's heat shrunk. So I did twist the wires together. I did have some of that heat shrink tubing, I forget what you call it, where it shrinks around the wires. And then I just put this over for safe measure. But I'm going to plug this in. We're going to turn it on, and I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that that's what it was, that it was really this needed to get the connection from the reverse. At least turn on. Okay, turns on. Turn the car on. All right, I'm gonna put it in reverse. Yes, yes. I gotta clean the camera apparently, but it's working. I got my lines. I got it. I'm speechless. I think we're all set. I'm going to get it all back in the dash, plugged in nicely, and we'll fine tune some things, but I think for the most part that we're done for today. I do have the lower 6.5 inch speakers. I have upgraded speakers to install, and I have the, I think they're 3.25 or 3.5 inch tweeters up in the door. So I already have those speakers. I'm going to install those too. We'll see how the whole thing sounds once I do some adjustments. And if I need to, I'll buy an external amp. But man, this really put me outside of my comfort level. I'm glad I did it. It's really exciting when something actually works, especially the reverse camera, getting that to work. But with that said, I think we're done for today. I want to thank you very much for joining, and until next time.